Divorce will pour thousands of dollars in you and lose 85% of you. Crazy. So I thought we have to have an ongoing strategy discipling marriages. And then I realized with Communio Barna study, 72% of churches have no marriage ministry. 80% of churches spend no substantive dollar on marriage. And I thought, if the church is salt and light, and marriage has been in decline, and the church is silent in the space and doesn't even find it worthy of a ministry, but's pouring 6 digits into children and youth and wondering why it's not working, every church needs a marriage ministry, and it needs to be an ongoing marriage ministry because the church is that important. So I felt a clear call from God to leave the law practice with the prayer and hope that God would start a movement that every single Bible-believing church would have an ongoing marriage ministry to disciple marriages. We wouldn't just leave people to their own devices and let them be conformed to the patterns of the world, but we would teach them how to do it well. Because the church had taught us how to do it well. Hey, you got to date every week. You got to spend time together. You got to communicate. You got to prioritize this. You can't put other things above it. It would have saved us a lot of trouble. But a lot of couples aren't as fortunate as we were to have people intersect in our lives to help change our direction. They end up in complacent marriages that are terrible, or they end up divorced. And the church can stop, I think, 90 to 95% of it if they start shepherding and discipling. So that was our lifetime call, is to help the church do marriage well.
Well, Brad and Marilyn, this conversation is fantastic. I don't tell my wife, Carol, we've been married for over 50 years, but I'm even taking notes here. So I have a lot more I'd like to talk to you about, and I know our listeners would love to hear. Any chance you guys could come back for another day?
We'd love to.
We'd be honored.
Wonderful, wonderful.
When two people acknowledge that the problem isn't their spouse, but their own selfishness, well, that's when real transformation in marriage can begin. You've been listening to a special edition of Dr. James Dobson's Family Talk, featuring Gary Bauer, our Senior Vice President of Public Policy here at the Dobson Policy and Culture Center, and his practical conversation with Brad and Marilyn Rhodes about building marriages that don't just survive, but truly thrive. If you missed any portion of today's broadcast, or if you want to share it with a couple who could use some encouragement, visit jdfi.net. There you'll find the complete program, along with information about Brad and Marilyn's award-winning book called The Grace Marriage. Again, you'll find the book information as well as the audio when you go to jdfi.net. The conversation you heard today reflects the heart of what we do here at the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute. Every day, marriages across America face pressures that can feel overwhelming. Cultural messages tell us that if marriage isn't easy, something must be wrong. Financial stress pulls couples in every different direction, and competing priorities crowd out the time needed to nurture intimacy. But through broadcasts like the one you just heard, we are equipping husbands and wives with the tools they need to build marriages that reflect Christ's love for the church. Your partnership makes this possible for us to reach couples at every stage, from newlyweds discovering that marriage takes work to long-married partners seeking to reignite their connection. When you support the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute, you're investing in the foundational institution God designed to hold families and communities together. To make a secure donation, visit jdfi.net. You can also call a member of our constituent care team. That number is 877-732-6825. That's 877-732-6825. Or keep in mind, you can also send your donation through the U.S. Postal Service. Our ministry mailing address is Dr. James Dobson's Family Talk, P.O. Box 39,000, Colorado Springs, Colorado, the zip code 80949. One more time, that is P.O. Box 39000, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80949. Well, I'm Roger Marsh, and from all of us here at Family Talk and the JDFI, thanks so much for listening today. Be sure to join us again next time for part 2 of this inspiring conversation featuring our own Gary Bauer and his guests, Brad and Marilyn Rhodes, discussing building a grace marriage. It's coming up right here on the next edition of Dr. James Dobson's Family Talk, the voice you can still trust for the family you love. This has been a presentation of the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute.
Sometimes being a good parent requires the skills of a detective, decoding the messages behind your child's actions.
Here's today's Dr. Dobson Minute with Dr. James Dobson.
For example, when a 2-year-old screams and cries at bedtime, one must ascertain what he's communicating. If he is genuinely frightened by the blackness of his room, the appropriate response should be quite different than if he is merely protesting about having to go to bed. Perhaps the toughest task in parenthood is to recognize the difference between these two distinct motives. That's why raising children is such a lofty skill that can never be reduced to a formula or a set of rules. Inevitably, it involves the ability to read the child like a book, feeling his passions, and responding appropriately to his needs.
For more information on this topic, visit drdobsonminute.org.
88.3 KAFR Willis, The Woodlands.
Is only for Donald Trump. It's not for the Republican Party. And I think this is another thing that we as conservatives have failed to do during the entire arc of the Trump era is actually take the Trump voters and convert them into genuine conservatives.
Start your weekdays with insight from Jenna Ellis in the morning, 7 o'clock Central Time on American Family Radio.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Robert Thornton. Today, the Supreme Court allowed California to use a new voter-approved congressional map that is favorable to Democrats in this year's elections, rejecting a last-ditch plea from state Republicans and the Trump administration. No justices dissented from the brief order. The justices had previously allowed Texas's Republican-friendly map to be used in 2026, despite a lower court ruling that it likely discriminates on the basis of race. Ryan Ruth, accused of trying to kill President Donald Trump in 2024, has learned his sentence. More from Fox's Dana Marie McNichol.
He is 59 years old. He will live the rest of his life behind bars. The federal judge called his actions premeditated, a calculated plot to take a human life, referencing President Trump. Now, federal judge Eileen Cannon, she sentenced him to life without parole plus 7 years. The additional time is tied to his charges involving owning a gun as a felon. Now, there was no mention of mental health treatments while in jail, something the defense did push for. The last time we saw Ruth in the courtroom was for the verdict. Moments after he was found guilty, he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen.
Ruth's attorney said today that his client stands by his plea of not guilty. New Orleans police say they verified a recruit's eligibility who was later detained by ICE. Here's Fox's Carmen Roberts.
The New Orleans Police Department denies wrongdoing after ICE detained one of its recruits and accused the city of violating federal immigration laws. Homeland Security says last month agents arrested police recruit Larry Tema, a Cameroonian national who had a final order of removal signed by an immigration judge. DHS says Tema's permanent residency application was denied for fraud, but the NOPD says it confirmed Tema's employment eligibility through a DHS verification system and that the agency never notified police ICE was seeking to detain him. That is, until the day of his arrest. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
Tema remains in custody awaiting deportation. The Attorney General of Missouri has filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau. More from AFN's Chris Woodward.
Attorney General Catherine Hanaway said the lawsuit has to do with the Department of Commerce and Census Bureau unconstitutionally allowing illegal aliens to commandeer the path to the White House and compromise our elections. Talking about this on American Family Radio, Hanaway said the issue goes back decades.
Ever since Jimmy Carter, the Census Bureau has counted illegal immigrants for the purposes of allotting congressional districts, electoral votes, and federal dollars that flow through the states. Lots and lots and lots, millions of illegal immigrants are getting more than their fair share of congressional seats, electoral votes, and federal program dollars.
Hanaway pointed to Los Angeles as one example. According to the Attorney General, Los Angeles has 2 million illegal immigrants.
By comparison, Missouri's total population is 6.1 million people. It obviously is costing Missouri tremendously for those 2 million illegal immigrants in Los Angeles to get counted in the census. We think for Missouri alone, it would mean one additional congressional seat and millions in additional federal dollars.
I'm Chris Woodward.
Fox Weather says amid a winter of relentless Arctic conditions, the most powerful punch of the season is expected this week across the Northeast, with dangerous wind chill temperatures approaching 25 degrees below zero in some places. Fox Weather's Britta Merwin.
It is coming in with a wind element, so get ready for it. So we'll deal with the quick batch of snow. Again, not a huge impact. The bigger impact is the wind and the cold. Let's talk about the wind component. We have a ridge of high pressure building in behind this cold front, and that high pressure is located so closely to the storm itself that there's a drastic change in pressure between the high and the low. And so what's happening is the wind is going from the high to the low pressure to fill the void that's developed, and that causes some pretty wild and wicked wind gusts across the East Coast. So we're talking about wind gusts that could be stronger than 40 miles per hour.
That is all our time for now. Find more news at afn.net.
The following broadcast is a re-air. We love your participation in our shows, but due to the pre-recorded nature of this program, it will not be possible to take your phone calls today. We look forward to being back live soon. Thank you for listening to American Family Radio.
God has really blessed me. He let me work in D.C., let me work with EIB in Hollywood, in Silicon Valley, and He's shown me through all those experiences that there is one problem and one solution, and that's why we do this show.
Welcome to A Disciple's View with Todd Herman.
But the God of the universe created the world. He didn't snap his fingers or wink his eye. The Lord spoke. He said, "Let there be light." Because we believe we speak about the happenings in this world, mindful that our true home is with Jesus Christ and his kingdom. I'm Todd Herman. Welcome to A Disciple's View. We're really blessed to be able to come and thank you for what you did in helping us raise money to make sure that more babies live. And when you do that for us and we get an opportunity to give these free ultrasounds out, you do something that you may not even have considered. And that is that you are showing people what the face of Christ is as manifested through his body. And that's us. So on behalf of everyone here at AFR, I want to thank you for that because it matters. It matters because there's such an effort to call all Christians, all of us, are hypocrites. And often we play into that, unwittingly, but we do. So I want to thank you for being part of that. And when we do fundraisers like this, understand that Preborn, for instance, they support us. And in this case, it was Preborn we helped, but they support us in this network and our mission here. So it's really mutual aid. So I just wanted to, I didn't do a good job of thanking you for that yesterday. So if you gave during this campaign, I thank you for that. I also am really thankful that we have top of the hour news here that is actual news. If you ever go to AFR HQ in Tupelo, you can go over to the news area and watch people gather the news and then edit it and talk about what are the top stories and how are we going to approach these. And it's a blessing. You just heard what we call in the radio business an actuality. It's an audio clip of Tom Homan talking about a drawdown of ICE personnel in Minneapolis. I pray this is not a mistake. Here is a hard reality. There are many people on the right who are tempted to believe all of the anti-ICE protesters are paid shills. Not true. There are some paid people there, and they're organizers, and they're led from the top by people who have been practitioners of color revolutions in other countries. Some of them are retired CIA. That's all very real. There are outside agitators brought into this country, some of them trained by Hamas, some of them trained in Russia, in China. That's all true. There's a lot of people stuck in the middle who truly have been caused to believe that ICE are taking people to concentration camps for extermination. That's all true. But there's a lot of just true believers. And I beg you to understand something. You can have whatever worldview you want. You know, there are people very close to me who are extremely upset about the 70,000 deaths in Gaza. And all those 70,000 weren't Hamas. There's no chance they were Hamas. The IDF now admits this, that this is so overblown in the minds of many people I dearly love. And they know that some of our ICE members have trained with IDF. And so now they're tying these things together. You can have any worldview you want. But understand this. There are people who live here in our country, trained by our government, who are intent on a revolution. So what new form of government? They don't care. They want to throw off what is, unburdened by history. Remember when Cammie Harris used to say that? You must understand something. Minneapolis is a test run. Seattle, where they seized a 6-block region of the city for weeks at a time, was a test run. A very successful test run. $1 billion successful test run in cash and assets. That's what they got, and blackmail to leave. The test runs here about government resolve. How far can we push things? Can we tell people to go get themselves killed, as Renee Good and Alex Preddy were effectively told? They were told to create flashpoints to push cops up to the edge of violence. And they did it successfully, and they are dead, and I think apart from God for eternity. How far can we push? Right now, there are citizen patrols in Minneapolis checking people's driver's licenses and license plates. Literally stopping you before you enter a neighborhood. Stop. Let's see your ID, because your license plate isn't.